Hello, and welcome once again to New York City Jazz Musician's Dilemma. My name is Jonah, and thanks for tuning in. Tonight, I've had the great opportunity of interviewing jazz club owner Mitch Borden. If you haven't heard of Mitch, you have only to check out Small's Jazz Club. Mitch founded Small's in the early 1990s, and Small's has gone on to become one of the best clubs in New York City, if not the world. So I really think this interview is really great because he's talking about some of his roots and his beliefs about how jazz should be played today. And I really think that you guys will enjoy this and learn something from this. So I hope you guys watch this and really think about what Mitch is saying and come to Small's Jazz, because you can still find Mitch over there and you can probably ask him questions yourself. So before I go to the video, I'd just like to mention once again that please subscribe to these videos, and please keep checking back and keep watching the videos, and stay tuned for future interviews such as one with Johnny O'Neill coming up and another one with David Gilmour, jazz guitarist. So keep on watching and enjoy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have the unique opportunity of getting to interview the original founder of Small's Jazz Club, Mitch Borden. Mitch, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into jazz, how you got involved with jazz, and about your enthusiasm, how that came about?
I came from a musical family, and I got my first Charlie Parker record when I was 14.
Wow.
Back then, no one said Charlie Parker was the best alto player. You couldn't find his records anywhere. This was in the late 60s when I was growing up, and early 70s.
Wow, that's crazy.
And my high school teacher gave me Bird and Diz, an old record. There were no reissues, there were no CDs, or, there were, I remember when 8-track tapes came out.
Wow.
But, well, the guy that everyone liked, because he was still alive and still playing a lot, was Sonny Stitt.
Sure.
And I saw him here in New York here a few times. And, of course, everybody loves bebop best, and I do too, because what people are trying to do is shine through their role that they're playing. So let's say you decide to play the role of a bebop trumpeter, or you decide to play a role of a modern Coltrane saxophone. You would go and you would write transcriptions, and you would play just like them, and yet you work through that so that you come shining through. The great actors, the directors like them because you can always see Dustin Hoffman coming through all his roles. And that's what makes it more believable. Not that you can perfectly play as a repertoire a piece of music that was written by a jazz composer. That's not the point. The point in jazz is that it's a perfect vehicle for you to express something that you have that is unique to your being. And that when it's expressed, that's when you're firing all your pistons at its optimal level. That's when you're really moving full stride into something that you feel great about it, and something that you want to do, and everyone knows it, and you're an inspiration to everybody else because you're feeling it in a way that it has that certain freedom that comes when you're doing something that you know that you are capable of doing because it's coming from you. You're speaking your own mind, you're putting it in your own words. For instance, Shakespeare's sonnets. There's one man that stands above all the rest when they're recited because of something in his personality, something that he conveys to us that he really understands and holds those sonnets so dear to him. And of course his name is Sir John Gielgud, and Sir John Gielgud was knighted for that work, and of course he directed Laurence Olivier many times in Shakespeare as well. But it's the same thing with Charlie Parker. You know, when Ross and Roland Kirk plays some of Bird's work at a medium tempo, it's incredible. It's like Charlie Parker all over again, and yet something even very deeper because of Ross and Roland Kirk's blindness and things like that.
Yeah,
it came through in such a great way. So you can't say, oh, these guys are playing some old music. It's of course what they do with the interpretation of that music, and jazz lends to that more than any other music that you're allowed to interpret it, and that you're expected to interpret it.
Could you speak to us about how Smalls got started and the early days at Smalls?
Well, I was very lucky to fall into a large group of musicians that wanted to play. They were all up and coming, but they were the up and coming ones that kind of made it. And I'm talking about Fred Meldau, Peter Bernstein, Kurt Rosenwinkel, and Guillermo Klein, and Brian Blade, Josh Redman. They were all here in the beginning, and we had lines around the block for those guys. And I was just so lucky that to catch them at their careers, that they were willing to work in a little club like this, and hone some of their skills as well, because they were young, but very talented, incredibly talented, even at that young age.
Wonderful. So I know now we're almost nearly 20 years later, and Smalls is still going strong. Could you speak to us? What was the formula behind making this such a great and unique jazz club?
I think it just fell into the nook that no one else was doing. For some reason, no one else was presenting jazz as a living art, as in a sense, the folk music of New York City, played by young people because they have to play it, because this is how they express and render forth their guts and their souls, and this is what makes them feel great to play music like this.
Sure.
And the other clubs went to another model, which was a very showy type of presentation of very well stayed names that were guaranteed to draw people, but on the other hand wasn't lending to the need of the jazz community at that time, which was to have a platform for these up and coming people.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to us and taking some time.